So this is possibly one of my most favorite videos that I'll create. I think a lot of you know I'm a big Porsche fan. I've been invited by Porsche to drive their new Taycan. Excitement levels are through the roof. Come on, let's go. So we're standing in a very special place. We are at Zuffenhausen, as I mentioned. This is where if you order a vehicle, you can do a European delivery, drive it straight off of the factory line. We're standing with the two vehicles. I am the biggest wagon fan of all time. This would be close to the exact spec that I would want. This is the Turbo S Taycan Cross Turismo in shade green, one of the new launch colors. You can see how aggressive it looks. So with the new Taycan, you can actually see some of the new design elements on it. The whole front has been redesigned. You can see how aggressive this is here. This has the carbon package. You can see that carbon front lip. And something unique to Turbo now is the new color called Turbonite. So that's actually on the little badge at the front. Also Turbonite elements around the rest of the car. As you come to the side, you can see Cross Turismo has the extra wheel arches. These ones are in gloss black. 21-inch wheels, also in that same Turbonite color with carbon ceramic brakes, and of course the charging port on the side. So one of the big changes to Taycan now is the improvement in the range. Compared to the first gen, this has a 97 kilowatt hour battery, 597 kilometers estimated range. That equates to around 370 miles. The usage of it has gotten a lot better. And of course, Turbo S, this thing is fast. That's 0 to 100 kilometers in 2.5 seconds with launch control. We know that Porsche is very conservative with their numbers. I'm thinking closer to 2 seconds. That is 938 horsepower. It's a rocket ship. Standard to all Taycan models now are the new redesigned headlights. Those are matrix LED for Turbo. We have the HD matrix LED headlights. Very aggressive, as you can see here. Obviously very usable for the front. And like I said, around, because this is a wagon, we've got the usability. If we take a look at this rear end, this is like one of my favorite views of the car right here, this rear quarter panel, rear carbon diffuser, and the Porsche lettering right now, which is an option. You can get that fully illuminated, which looks really nice from that back end view. We also have new air suspension across all models, and what's coming to this is Porsche Active Ride, which essentially manipulates the car depending on how you're driving it. We'll test that out a lot more in some of the nice little bendies on our road trip. I think now's the perfect time to start our road trip. Join me for this review vlog hybrid. Let's get to those mountain bendies. Let's go. Before we go on the road trip, thought I'd show you around here, because how can you not be like a little kid in a candy store? So one day, one of my goals is to do European delivery. You can hear a car starting up through that door. That is goals one day. How can I not be smiling here? So I'll show you around a bit. They've got a little Porsche gas station. Like, I want my garage to look like this one day. Like, if you're a fan of the Dakars, we've got the old school Rothmans Dakar. Like, look how high that is off the ground, that clearance. The new one, Rough Roads. We've got the Turbo GT Visac package. Maybe, possibly, fingers crossed, we can drive this on track. And if you just want to trip down memory lane, 1980s, the 70s, to the 60s, to the 50s down there. Like, how is this real? How is this real? So around 30 minutes left in the drive into our hotel at the Alps. We left Zuffenhausen. I have 111 kilometers range. So keep in mind, pushing it hard on the Autobahn, obviously had to. The biggest improvement, honestly, to the new gen has to be the range. We actually couldn't get to our hotel if we had the first gen, especially with all of the B-roll, all of the follow shots that we've been doing right now. But we've driven over 300 kilometers already. This has really shown the improvement in efficiencies on range in the new Taycan, and compared to the first gen, it's 30% better. That new suspension, it is effortless. You are going quick without even knowing it. This thing has the feel of a Porsche, which I've always said about Taycan. It feels like a dynamic drive, and that Porsche Active Drive, you actually feel it now that we're in these little mountain road bendies where I can actually, take some corners a bit harder. When I'm braking a bit heavier, that weight transfers to the front. The car naturally wants to come up. That suspension will counteract that, and especially when we get onto track, like I said, some special stuff coming with the Turbo GT. That's where I'll really get to test it out. But this scenery here is truly stunning. Like, it would be bucket list if you are a car person. We've pulled over for a sec to switch the orientation of our camera. We just went through this really nice valley to get some vertical shots. The interior of the car too, once again, very similar. The seats are nice and comfy. I honestly, when I spec a car, don't like to do black on black, but leather touching every surface of this. You have obviously that Turbonite, that same material for turbos found on the outside, that is now on the inside. Above that, a bit of a carbon fiber weave and green stitching, maybe to tie in with the shade green of the exterior. The screens in the middle, definitely still a bit of a fingerprint magnet, but you can't get around that with any sort of EV or any sort of screen. Like I said, this is a fully usable wagon. We're traveling up with our luggage, fits easily into the back. This is like the perfect dad mobile. Like, this is the stage of my life. Link, my dog, fits into the back, maybe soon to be a little Carl Jr. coming in one day. Perfect daily cruiser EV. It's nice. You can say what up. Hello. Hi. We actually have like the best follow car. We've got the sedan version of the Taycan, which I'll be driving on the way back. Let's hit it. So we've officially arrived at, forgive the pronunciation, Obermühle. I will never try to speak German again. The official kilometer count, 91 kilometers left, and I've driven around 350 kilometers in total. Obviously tried hard to get a ton of good B-roll shots. It was pretty spicy on that photo shoot, and it's almost a sin not to go into any body of water. Marco's gonna join me?
Let's see.
Next location. I think the one problem now with any sort of EV is like charging infrastructure. So they have a slow charger here. Hopefully overnight that charges to 100%. The max that this takes is 320 kilowatts. Obviously this little hotel in the mountains does not have that. See you guys tomorrow for day 2. So on to day number 2, car successfully charged overnight. I actually hopped into the Turbo, the sedan version, slightly less space than the Cross Turismo, so you can actually see one of my suitcases in the back. Personal preference on your choice. We started the day actually really early as we're en route to Baden-Baden. We stopped off in this cute little German town for a bit of a pit stop, but we started early and actually stopped off in Weissach, which is Porsche's development center where they get to do all the cool testing. I have some other special content coming from there that I'll be shooting after the Taycan, I guess, like road trip review video. Actually got to meet with some of the designers of the car. So for example, talked about exterior, kind of the battle between aerodynamics, still keeping it sporty, keeping that, iconic Porsche design, that look and feel. Some of the new body lines, the front end that were redeveloped, and he actually drew a cool little sketch, which I have, hopefully keep that as part of my archives. I thought that was really fun. Chatted about obviously the interior, some of the design elements like Turbonite, chatting about sightlines, some of the interior curves, and obviously this being a very digital cabin. Got to chat with some of the engineers about obviously battery and charging. So the biggest battle is, you can technically have more battery or larger battery cell, which increases the weight, which is probably the biggest detractor to performance. With new battery tech, obviously this has gotten better, but I would still say the biggest crux in any sort of EV is charging times. There is no way you want to wait an hour and a half while your car charges. The new charging screen on the inside shows you all relevant charging info. For example, predicted charging power, and if the battery is in an ideal charging condition to experience the fastest charging experience.
So the new Taycan actually charges up to 320 kilowatts from 6% to 80% in 18 minutes. So when you think about that on a road trip, you go to the bathroom, you take a little food break. I think anywhere in that like 15-minute mark is totally acceptable. As I've been driving around now from location to location, having a 15-20-minute rest break is totally within those means, and you can juice up to 80%, which I think is one of the biggest improvements. That charger in Weissach, we got over 320 kilowatts. The battery doesn't get as loud, it doesn't get as hot. It's, like I said, I think that biggest crux for many people that are going into the EV space, especially if you don't have a charger at home, which you should, but for road trips, for anything, you know, long distance, I think it has made that significant improvement. And as we make our way to Baden-Baden, the next stop, as I get myself a bit more familiar with the turbo sedan, it's kind of changed my mind on EVs. So let's get back and going and catch everyone in the Black Forest. So unfortunately, we have come to the end of our driving experience here in Germany, and we've decided to pull up on our way back from Baden-Baden to this beautiful winery area overlooking the scenery. And the first thing that I can say is the German driving experience has been incredible. If you have the opportunity to do a European delivery, which is essentially delivering your new vehicle to Zuffenhausen, you can take it out for a couple weeks, do the drive. The road conditions, the Autobahn, from the mountain scenery to the lakes to the Black Forest to here, has been, I think, a dream bucket list for any car enthusiast. You just have to do it. It's probably one of the best drives I've ever done in my life. And I get it that I've been blessed with some of the better models, some of the more expensive ones, the Turbo today, the Turbo S, which was fully loaded, the Cross Turismo, the hatchback yesterday, but even across the entire model range from the 4S. And I know that I got lucky to get a sneak peek in the Taycan Turbo GT, which that video is separate. It has truly been incredible. The new facelift, the new second gen model of the Taycan has definitely lived up to my experience. Even driving something like an EV, which before I had that range anxiety, I've never done like a full-on road trip. Now you can definitely do that with the range improvements, but also that battery charging. I mentioned how fast that this can charge, and even using the Porsche planner, the charging planner, when you enter in a certain destination, it'll give you different charging stations and the levels, the different kilowatt hours, but it also kind of conditions the battery so it's optimal for charging. And just like any piece of tech, you know, from 10 to that 60, 70% mark, that's where the car will charge the fastest. So if you want to wait 15 minutes, you can hop back on the road, take a little quick pit stop, a bit of a break, and continue on the journey. It has really removed that range anxiety I think a lot of people get with EVs. And as the day kind of winds down, the sun is setting, I have definitely caught myself more than a couple times this trip that joy of driving, which is really sometimes hard to describe in words, even in video, even with all the gorgeous, you know, shots that we got. It's those moments where you catch yourself, you know, smiling behind the wheel. Words can't really describe that feeling. And I think when you have the perfect scenario of when obviously you're driving a performance vehicle, when the road, the scenery is beautiful, you know, when the music is hitting the right way, you get that inexplicable feeling inside of you that I think anyone that enjoys any bit of driving can relate to. So I'm going to be checking out of here. We're going to make our way back to Stuttgart now for the final day. Honestly, just want to thank Porsche for such an incredible experience. If you followed along in the channel, you know that it's a passion of mine, or Porsche, the brand itself, is a passion of mine. Being a GT3 owner, this has finally culminated in this sweet partnership. So I can't thank you guys enough for obviously watching this stuff, and this has truly been like a milestone for me. I'm gonna definitely pinch myself, hopefully hold on to all of this footage as a memory. Want to thank everyone at the Porsche team who's just been incredible, has you know, really made my dream come true. And as like a little child, as a little kid, have always imagined you know, looking at my Porsche poster in my bedroom to the point where we are today. It's absolutely mind-boggling. So I will get back into the vehicle and check out, and really hope you guys enjoy this. I'll catch you in the next one. We're still rolling in here. I'm gonna turn off this camera so you don't hear it and it doesn't wreck the moment. And we're driving off. That's the end of a real vid. Peace.